Hey all, let's do another system spotlight. Last time we got really into the original Xbox. If you're interested in that, go check it out. And this time I wanted to do a deep dive into my Sega Dreamcast. Just like the Xbox, I made a lot of modifications to my Dreamcast. So if you're into that kind of thing, stick around. I think you're gonna dig some of the stuff that I was able to do to my Dreamcast. So first things first, this is my Sega Dreamcast that I got on launch day. Probably the launch day that most retro gamers will remember because it was $99.99. I got out of work and me and my friend Jay went to the mall and I picked up this Sega Dreamcast and a copy of Soul Calibur. Hey Jay, if you're watching. So let's get into the modifications that I did to this Dreamcast. First thing, something I always do, I did it with the Xbox, I do it with most of my systems. I pretty much will always replace the power LED with a white one. I like the way it looks. But if you open the lid here, you're gonna notice that the disk drive is now gone. There's a little SD card slot here that you can access right from the top, but I'm actually not using that. So to see what I am doing, let's open this guy up. Remove the modem. I do wish I had a broadband adapter on there, but I never was able to get my hands on one. Alright, so let's start with the small things here. If you have a stock Sega Dreamcast, you'll know that whenever you turn it on, it gives a long beep and you always have to enter the time and date in every time you play it, regardless of whether you had it plugged in or not. That's because the battery died, and they don't make it easy to change it out. So what I did was I actually soldered a new piece in there so that you can put a removable battery in there, and I put a new battery in there. Next, just like I did with my Xbox, I replaced the original fan with a Noctua fan. It's a lot cooler and it's a lot quieter. This generation of systems, the Dreamcast, the PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox are so loud. Aftermarket fans that you can get now are so much better, so I always replace the fans whenever I can. Next is I replace the internal power supply. The Dreamcast originally had a not very efficient internal power supply. I put this guy in there, and now there's an external brick with a completely different connector that lives in my setup, which also helps the system run a lot cooler internally. So that's all the little kind of quality of life things, but let's talk about the big things. If you look in my setup, every single system that is on that shelf, I've tried to optimize each system to do two major things. And for me, they're the most important things. One is I want to get the best picture out of the system possible, and the answer to that is different for every system. Sometimes it's just a cable, sometimes it's an internal mod, like we did with the Xbox. We did an HDMI mod on it. So we'll get to the picture thing, but the second thing I always like to do is I want the ability to be able to play any game that has ever been made for the system. Now I have a lot of games in my collection for every system, but I'm never going to get all of them. Once you go down that road, you are collecting forever, trying to get complete sets, and I respect that, and I respect people who go to those lengths, but it's just not for me. That's not the way I do it. At the end of the day, while these games are really cool to have in your collection, and again, I respect that, they're just data, they're just files. So I'd rather have all that data, all those files, than have to collect every game made for every system. I've gotten multiple comments from a lot of different people that are saying that this is emulation. It's most certainly not emulation. I'm playing on an original system. Emulation is something that happens when a computer or, something other than a Dreamcast is simulating or emulating a Dreamcast. I think I'm going to do a full episode about this to really get into it because it seems to be a hot topic. But for now, I'll just say there's data on a CD. There's data on a hard drive. An original cartridge is essentially a ROM. There's a ROM file on that cartridge. And a cartridge is way more tactile than a CD. The CD is just straight up data. So I removed my optical drive. In the case of the Dreamcast, it's really easy to put right back in if I wanted to, but I put something in there called the Mode from a company called Terra Onion. I have another one of these for my Saturn. Same device, a little harder to install on that one. But with the Mode, I have the ability to connect via USB or via the SD card that you saw earlier, or in my case, I chose what I feel would be the best option, and that's this 1 terabyte Samsung SSD drive. This drive is completely loaded with every game ever made for North America, Europe, and Japan. So it's really cool. I can just play whatever I want, load right into the menu, check out Europe, I can check out Japan, and the North American library. Play whatever I want. For instance, might as well go to the game that made me want to buy this system on $9.99 in the first place, Soul Calibur. As you can see, that loads right up, accesses my old game saves, and we're playing some Soul Calibur. So earlier I mentioned the other huge thing that I really try to focus on with each system is the picture quality. In the case of the Dreamcast, there is an HDMI mod, a really, really good one I might add, from Pixel FX, called the DC Digital, and there's a second version of that out right now. Thought about getting it For years, there's been an ongoing struggle to get Dreamcast component cables made, so I went back and forth on which one I wanted to do. But ultimately, the Dreamcast was originally able to output a VGA on VGA monitors, and this was a really clean 480p signal. And I thought if I could just be a little patient and wait, I could get my hands on those component cables. The ones that everyone's waiting on never came out. But a company called Retro Gaming Cables did release them. I'm not going to pull it out because it's very entrenched in my shelving system here. But it's got a little switch on the back here for 576i, but I pretty much keep everything on 480p because it's going to an upscaler. This goes directly into my G-Comp switch, which is just an automated component video switcher. Works really great. And that feeds my RetroTink 5X, which upscales everything to 1440p. So as you can see, picture looks beautiful. I think I'm going to keep it like this, but I am going to replace the RetroTink with the RetroTink 4K when that comes out, so everything will be even sharper. It'll be 4K. So you'll find that as I do these deep dives, I want to be able to play every game and I want the picture to look tight. Any other mods I do are pretty secondary to those two priorities. So what else can we talk about? Oh, I am waiting on something that's very exciting. You're probably familiar with the VMU for the Dreamcast. It was like a little Game Boy that plugged into your controller. You could take it on the go and play little things. It had a little screen that would show you extra information while you were playing your game. The batteries on these are totally dead now, and the storage is pretty limited. Last year I backed an Indiegogo for this VM2, and this thing looks really cool. It's going to give me unlimited save storage and a battery that I won't have to worry about dying. I'm supposed to be getting this in September, maybe October, so really looking forward to that. I have 4 extension cables for the full 4 Sega Dreamcast controllers if I had a lot of people over, and the Dreamcast notoriously had this stupid design thing where the wire was coming out of the bottom and then it was wrapping up towards the top. It was like a waste of wire. I got these brackets here, though, to sort of solve that problem. Those are on all 4 of my original controllers. Of course, you have to have CNAN, one of the weirdest things to ever come out on any video game system ever. This is the original mic that came with it. The foam part of the mic was eaten by a mouse when I lived in my New York City apartment. Hope he choked on it and died. I subscribed to Sega Dreamcast magazine, so I have all these demo discs that used to come out. I have a Bleemcast disc for Gran Turismo 2 on the PlayStation 1. Look that up, that's super interesting. And here are my controllers. The one on the top is by Retro Fighters, it's called the DC Striker. Just thought that would be cool to have, but I pretty much always just play with the originals. And yeah, I think that's about it for my Sega Dreamcast. I think I can pretty much say this is my favorite system that I have. There's just something about it. Even the bad games for it are pretty fun. It died really prematurely. I grew up a Sega kid, and this was the last gasp of Sega's hardware, so it has a special place in my heart. What do you think about the Dreamcast? Let me know. And what would you like to see on our next deep dive? I've pretty much modified everything on this shelf to one degree or another, some of them heavily modified. Let me know what you'd like to see us talk about next. Hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you all next time we spin the wheel. Thanks, everyone.